Hello, everybody. Tom Tiberi here, joined by Adam King, Nicole Sheeran, and our man Tim May, 97.1 The Fan and the Tim May Show. All right, guys, camp is underway, and Tim, it was different this year. And it started last year where they sold tickets, but today really had a feel of a carnival. I mean, there were about 600 fans. They're selling memorabilia. It was almost like a pro camp, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you got quarterbacks, throwing the ball, trying to win prizes. Like number one starting quarterback. Yeah, I mean, they even had a merch tent, available for folks. So they never stopped trying to raise money, as Adam King and I were talking about earlier. But the bottom line is, yeah, it had a little bit of a I don't know if carnival's the right term, because there was some pretty big time practicing going on out there and stuff. But the fans were here to gawk and get autographs afterwards. And I think they were, despite the rain that came along and made them move indoors, I think the fans enjoyed themselves.
The thing is, Tim said they were getting after it. I guess the big story is an injury to Edric Houston, a guy who many thought was going to be challenging to be the starting defensive end. It did not look good as he left the field.
Well, I'll tell you this right now. There was not a place that Ohio State could afford to lose more than Edric Houston, because not only was he challenging, he was expected to be one of the stars on this defense. That defensive line is already so slim right now. And, they went out, they got some guys in the transfer portal, they got Bo Atkinson, but that was just to build up the depth of this defensive line. Now you're looking at a star. He went down. He wasn't able to put weight. It looked like an ankle, but we don't really know. Ryan said he hadn't spoken to the trainers yet. Right. But that is literally, I think if you asked Ryan what's one place that you could not lose on day one, he would say that defensive line, let alone losing your five-star defensive lineman who's ready to take the biggest step forward of his career in this season. So we'll have to wait and see. But the crazy thing is, my first thought was that doesn't look good, but maybe they get him back, in a couple of weeks. But then it hit me. They play Texas week 1. Yep. You don't have time to sit around and hope, that he can sit out for a couple games and get better. You need him back week 1.
Nicole, the thing that jumped out to me when Ryan Day was asked about the first practice, and obviously you hate to see a player get injured. They're not even in pads. They're not supposed to be hitting. And he said they got to learn how to practice. They got to stay off the ground. And I think that was indirect, to what he saw with Houston.
Well, and he said if you want to be able to hang in training camp in the NFL, you need to know how to practice without pads here and stay off the ground. I mean, when we think about it, you think, oh, if they know how to play football, they'll be just fine. No, it starts with the basics. Stay off the ground, know how to practice without pads. And a big thing he said, too, is know how to protect each other. I mean, at the end of the day, leadership. He's big on leadership. Football in general is big on leadership. You need to know how to protect your guys on the field. And, yeah, when you see somebody go down like that, the whole Woody felt still for a second, because you don't know what the future is for that guy, and that moment could change the entire season for not only him but this team.
Yeah, you get injured like that, you hate to see that, Timmy.
The thing is, you basically got caught in a bingo there in the middle. I mean, just a bunch of bodies all trying to be in the same place at the same time. But the defensive tackle, which is where he is, those two spots, as Adam was alluding to earlier, that was where in the transfer portal, could they get a guy that could beef up that room, for want of another term, a little bit more. Now you're going to have to see Will Smith Jr. and some of these other guys really step to the fore, because it did not look good the way he was helped off the field. It was not a cramp, that's for sure.
All right, let's talk a little X's and O's. And, Coach was asked about, well, I asked him, I said, when do you hope to have a quarterback named? And, Tim, I was surprised. I guess maybe not surprised, but he gave a good answer. And he said, I think it's a bad thing if we go into camp and we don't know who the starter is, if we go into the first game and we don't know who the starter is.
Yeah, that's what he said, and you're exactly right. But here's the thing. They've got to get a starter ready for that first game. Whether this battle can carry over from there remains to be seen. But I would expect no more than 3 weeks into camp, they kind of decide on who that guy's going to be, because everybody remembers Texas's defense from like how many months ago? Well, 8 months ago, how good it was. And you know what you're going to be facing, and you want your quarterback to your number one quarterback get as many reps as possible in that regard. But the way, as close as this battle is right now, and I do believe it's close between Julian Sayin and Lincoln Keynotes, it's hard to believe one's just going to fall backwards, But the best thing for Ryan Day and this group is one guy to just really step forward and make every play and be sharp and be on top of things, be on top of the checks, et cetera, and go from there. But it's imperative in the next 3 weeks they find a guy to start that first game for sure.
You know, Adam, I asked him, I said, you know, practice is practice. Games, you know, as much as you try to simulate games, and you're not going to hit the quarterbacks. They did hit them in the spring game. He said, we're not going to do that here. But they're going to turn the heat up, and he's going to do some mental things, I think, to get into these kids' head to see who can handle the pressure, because they're not opening with Ohio University. They're opening with Texas.
Well, I think it's interesting. You talk about putting the fire and the pressure on them. They were just doing routine throws to the tight end just in period 2, which is just warming up pretty much. And Ryan walked from across the field, walked over and put his hands up right in front of the quarterback's face to make sure that, hey, you know, these aren't routine throws. Everything here needs to be challenged because we're less than a month away from Texas. And when I saw that, I thought, boy, these guys are in for a gauntlet here because, yes, they could take this to the start of Texas. I don't think they will because if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks, someone famously said. And I cannot imagine that we are sitting here 2.5 weeks and we don't have a starting quarterback. And I don't think that means, as Tim said, that someone took a step back. I think it means, one, he's found his guy that has the command of the offense. And I'm a firm believer, Lincoln Keenels has looked very good in practice. I'm a firm believer that Julian Sain is still leading this competition. But Ryan has not seen yet what he wants to see from Julian. If Julian showed up at camp tomorrow and played to the potential that Ryan knows he can or should be at right now. And he looked great in the spring game, but we've seen some errant throws. The routinely, Julian has struggled with that a little bit. I think he's waiting on Julian to take that next major step up, and then he'll have a starting quarterback.
Following up on that, Nicole, Ryan Day brought both these guys here for a reason. And here's Lincoln, who's, you know, South Dakota. You know, you don't think of that being maybe the state that produces the greatest quarterbacks, but this guy was an incredible athlete coming out of there, talking about Lincoln Kielholtz, and Ryan Day talked about it. I think this competition is very close. I have said from day one, don't sleep on Lincoln. The thing that I thought was most interesting about practice is here it is day one, and I saw Coach Day, and he's going to be working with the quarterbacks. He was getting into them. I mean, I saw him coaching them up, and he was coaching them hard.
But good. Like, that's what you want to see. You don't want to see your coach kind of hands off with 2 of the most important guys on the field. I mean, regardless, the quarterback is one of the most important positions. And it was interesting because Coach said a kid out of South Dakota, that's not something you think of for a quarterback to come into a program. But I think the difference maker, and Ryan Day said it just now in his press conference, is that your locker room is going to tell you a lot. The guys on the field, what are they feeling about who's going to lead this team? And they need to have a starter before the Texas game because you need to have your guys feel confident going into what could be the biggest game of the season. You cannot go into that game not knowing who's going to be your QB1 all year. And yeah, there may be some questions still, and then that may be a chance for those guys to prove themselves even more. But your guys on the field, your wide receivers, your running backs, your defense, your O-line, they need to feel confident of who they're protecting out there.
You know, Tim, we've known Ryan for a long time. He, you know, I like to call him the quarterback whisperer. And, you know, he's
he doesn't whisper.
Yeah, he doesn't. He wasn't whispering at practice. Here's a guy that, you know, had delegated a lot of things. But I think this year, given the fact that there's going to be he's going to take a bigger role, I think, this year with the quarterback position. At least that's what it looks like and sounds like for me.
Yeah, most head coaches do that. I mean, you know, because everything that happened last year was because of what Will Howard, what he became as the year went on. Both of these quarterbacks are talented in sort of different ways. There's no denying Julian Sain's release. It's as quick a release as I've ever covered at Ohio State. There's no denying Lincoln Keenholtz as a leader, in my opinion, but also in how he has improved himself over 3 years. He's a much different looking physical player than he was 3 years ago when he first showed up as an all-around athlete from Pierre, South Dakota. So, but your head coach always makes that final call on who the starting quarterback is, because other than the head coach, that's probably the most important position on the team. The guy that can bail you out, like he said, on third downs and in the red zone, can make a play. But can he run your offense in between the 20s? That's what you get right down to. And so, yeah, they're looking basically at consistency from these guys and it getting better and better as the next couple of weeks go on.
Quarterback's only going to be as good as the offensive line, and personally, I think this O-line could be very, very good. You got to keep them healthy. You want to have depth, but I'm impressed with what they're bringing back, and I think this could be an outstanding line.
I think this is probably the best offensive line we've seen at Ohio State. Definitely in the last couple of years. I do think it's one of the strongest units, and there are a lot of people that keep asking questions about the offensive line because they lost Donovan Jackson, because they lost Josh Simmons, because they lost Seth McLaughlin. But here's the thing. Those guys, other than Donovan Jackson, didn't play when they went on a national title run.
Correct.
You know, they didn't have Josh Simmons. They didn't have McLaughlin. And all these guys that are here now are stepping up into those
And now
roles.
they're veterans.
And now they're veterans. I watched a lot of Tyler Bowen today. I like how, he's very in their face, very, he's not letting anything slide like you talked about Ryan with the quarterbacks. I think this is a very good group. Ethan Onowanwa, did I nail that? Oneonwa is a monster of a man. He's down 20 pounds and he looks, if I was a defensive lineman, I would be absolutely horrified having to go up against that man. This offensive line, if I'm Ohio State's quarterback, I'm feeling really good about that unit. Carson Hinsman returns. There's just a lot of returning pieces. Maybe they weren't starters all year, but they'll be just fine.
I think they take pride in run blocking. I think they will want to keep the quarterback clean. But the running game, we got spoiled a year ago with the 1-2 punch of Trey and Junkins. What about this year? I know you're a big fan of Peoples.
I was about to say, you just look at the guy. That photo of James Peoples on Twitter, his muscles were about jumping out of his freaking jersey. Like, Carlos Locklin knows how to mold and produce running backs. We saw it with Trey Henderson and Quinshaw Judkins. I think this year the rock is going to be split a little bit more between some of the guys. I think James Peoples is definitely going to be a guy that he knows he's got to take on that role, and he knows that he was in a running back room where he was learning from two absolute dogs out there. So it's going to look different just in terms of the 1-2 punch. But when you have a guy like Carlos Locklin really molding that group, I think there are some people out there who are concerned because they did just lose two incredible running backs to the league. But when you have a room like that conducted by a guy like Carlos Locklin, I'm not concerned whatsoever about it.
C.J. Donaldson is going to be a name that everybody talks about. I think, he comes in with the most experience of that running back room. I know we talk about James People, but Donaldson and Locklin, I talked to him. He's not using him as a pass-catching back. Obviously, that's a part of his role, but he has fully transformed into a power back. I am very excited to see how he looks this year.
All right, Tim, the last thing. No, wait, okay, go ahead.
Also, Sam Williams-Dixon is now Samuel Dixon on the roster.
We got rid of Williams.
And number one and number two, the two freshmen, one of them's named Bo, and one of them's named Turbo. So I think the depth in that running back room is sneaky, really pretty good with some excitement coming as the year ensues.
All right, last thing on the offense, let's talk about, the real strength of this offense, the receiver position.
Yeah.
And when you have a guy, first of all, Jeremiah Smith, and I loved hearing him at the Big Ten Media Day, still very confident young. He's just 19, but he's going to get a lot. He's not sneaking up on anyone this year. He's going to be a favorite to win all the awards that are out there. What do you expect out of him? Because he broke every record as a freshman here at Ohio State that you care about. What can he do for an encore? When he's getting the attention he's going to get?
More catches, more touchdowns, more yards, but he's got to get the ball. So
Texas found a way to take him out in the
one-handed catches, maybe.
More one-handed catches, more spectacular catches. He looks bigger than he's listed. I don't know if you guys think that or not. He's listed at 223. To me, he looks like at least 228, 230. Looks taller than he's listed. He looks around 6'3.5", 6'4" instead of 6'3". My point is he's grown since last year. But I tell you what stands out about that whole offensive receiver room, offensive receivers opposed to defensive receivers, is how tall that room is. Yeah. It looks almost like an NBA team in terms of we're not recruiting anybody under 5'11" anymore. Brandon Ennis is the peewee, and he's 6 foot. And it just stands out. Carnell Tate, look at what he brings to the fore. And some of those younger guys, I've mentioned this guy many times, Quincy Porter, a guy I've really got my eye on. Just right on down the line, Milan, all these guys. So that's what stands out is there's a lot of guys they can throw to. But going back to that Texas game, we'll talk about this before the game, I'm sure. But you remember how kind of bummed out he was about how the Oregon game went down the first time when he didn't get the touches he thought he should have gotten or could have gotten? What did he do the second time around? So definitely he keeps tabs, keeps a running sheet on who owes him what.
Well, when I talked to him at Big Ten Media Day, he wasn't shy that he was in his own head against Texas. He was frustrated that he wasn't getting the ball.
Yeah.
He said this year, in that moment, he's got to be a better teammate. And I think that's the big story of the receiver room. We know Jeremiah Smith's amazing. But somebody said to me yesterday, do you think there's a world where Carnell Tate has more receiving yards? If defenses go all in on shutting down Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate will have the season of a lifetime. Brandon Ennis will have a great season. Mylan Graham will be a household name. If they're going to try to lock down number 4, then boy, do I have bad news for you. That doesn't even mention a tight end room that has the best receiving tight end in the country in Max Clare, who made the best catch of the day. So I understand Jeremiah is he's the thing that draws you to the box office. But this whole receiver room is going to be amazing.
Ensemble cast is what you're saying.
I've spent too much time with Tim. I'm making analogies here.
All right, Nicole, last thing with the offense. How well does Ryan Day sleep? Or obviously he worries about everything, but the fact that he's going to have a rookie quarterback, but he's going to be playing catch with the best receiver core in the country, does that give him a little ease at night?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Ryan Day loses sleep a lot. When you are the head coach of Ohio State, or any head football coach for that matter, you don't sleep well most nights because you're stressed out the entire time putting a national championship team together to get back there.
Forget about the football part.
Exactly. Forget about the football part. And on top of that, he's a dad and has kids and all that. But, yes, I mean, I think these quarterbacks are sitting there thinking, wow, this is nice. I got you and you and you and you who all know.
I think they know their names, all right?
Okay, well, yes. But what I'm saying is, I mean, yeah, the obvious one is Jeremiah Smith. Of course, he makes every catch look easy. We were just standing out there, and I said, could have been a better throw, but Jeremiah Smith makes it look pretty easy. I think Carnell Tate has that same ability. Brandon Ennis has that same ability. Quincy Porter, Tim, you talked about him. He's someone big on my radar this year. Yeah, you get spoiled, especially from a quarterback position, knowing that every guy you throw it to, the odds of them making the catch that a lot of those receivers can't make, pretty high.
All right, we're going to switch now. Tim May, you know I love the saying, defense wins championships, and the defense was huge a year ago as the Buckeyes went on that run, the greatest run in the history of Ohio State football, the greatest run in college football. As they put it together, we will always remember that Jack Sawyer strip and fumble recovery and bringing it back against Texas. As you look at what they lost on defense, can they simply reload?
It looks like it. But like we just talked about, who's the first guy to limp off the field of significance? Edric Houston, one of the people they're definitely counting on. And from not for depth standpoint, this guy was going to be a starter. He and Caden McDonald stepping in for the two ties who are gone now in the National Football League. So you never know what's coming around the corner. There is, without a doubt, Matt Patricia, the new defensive coordinator, has talked about what he likes about the talent level on this team, on this particular unit, especially when they get into the secondary. There's a lot of talented guys back there, but we're not going to know for sure. By the way, I thought your favorite saying was "What's for dinner?" But my favorite line is defense puts you in position to win a championship, not wins a championship, although Jack Sawyer might argue with that. But the bottom line is, yes, there's the talent there to get it done. The question mark is still, as we stand here today, still as it was yesterday, still as it was coming out of the spring. What's the depth going to look like at defensive tackle when they have to go to that well? Well, now they've got to go to that well. But Matt Patricia's really good on the matchup aspect of football because he was in the National Football League for, 2 decades almost. And they're going to find ways to play defensive tackle at some points this year without necessarily 2 defensive tackles in the game. So I'm really looking forward to how that mix and match goes on with him.
All right, Ryan Day, he's got a new coordinator in Matt Patricia. I think that was by design, a guy that won Super Bowls with New England, a guy that has been around the game, a guy that I think he can give the keys to the defense because I think Ryan wants to focus more on the offense. What is your feelings about Matt Patricia? We're going to find out more about him, but just in the little bit we've got to see him.
I love him. I think he is the perfect fit for this Buckeye team. When they first announced it and we first heard about it, I thought, okay, this is interesting. This could be a good hire. And then I've just watched it and talked to so many of these guys who say, you don't understand how big of a player's coach he is, how good at coaching he really is, at giving the technique, at letting you make a mistake and correcting you, which is massive for these guys. He doesn't treat them like he's the boss and listen to me. They're co-workers out there, which at this point, they're probably making more money than he is. So it's pretty remarkable to see. I watched him out there a lot today. It's very one-on-one with guys, which is he's not stepping back. And I'm not saying any defensive coordinator did that, but there were times when you'd look at Jim Knowles and he might have been more of an overarching defensive coordinator. It feels like Matt Patricia is in there on every rep, looking at these guys, working one-on-one with each of these guys. And we haven't even gotten to the best part of his game, which is scheming up defenses. He's an analytics guy. He's a mastermind at football, and we haven't even gotten to see his best presentation. Everybody said he was a bad guy. He was going to come in. People didn't like him very much. And that's not accurate here. I don't know what he did but in the past, but I'll tell you, here, everybody in the Woody loves him.
You know, the other thing, Nicole, he's so analytical. Yeah. And when he's got that pencil because he's always scheming, he's always thinking. And, I mean, he is designing the defense to the strength of the players. I love that.
Listen, I always trust a guy who carries a pencil behind his ear with a notepad. That is old school, and I love it. And I will say, the thing, too, is Ryan Day said it. Yeah, they're going to keep some aspects from what this defense was, but he's letting Matt Patricia put his little spice on it, put his little sprinkle on it, like what you're saying, where he's coaching the defense to the players' strengths. C.J. Hicks talked a lot about that he loves Matt Patricia's kind of mindset of how he wants to use Hicks this season. He's playing to their strengths. Why would you not play to your players' strengths? If you know that guy's going to come off the ball fast and attack the quarterback, yeah, I want you to be the guy to do that. And I think he sees a lot of those qualities out of various guys in that defense. But I think, too, going back to what Adam said about how all these guys respect him. I mean, you hear about guys saying that, Matt Patricia will sit one-on-one with them watching film, and that when he was gone on vacation, they wanted him back right away because he's like, I want to go watch film with him. He's a player's coach, and that's what you want for a defensive guy.
Well, he really picks up on the details. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
He notices little things. Number two, I think it's a real stroke of, I don't know if you call it luck, but with Jim Knowles leaving and Ryan Day spending his time to get a new defensive coordinator, I think Ryan Day has really hit the nail on the head. You heard me ask him about just becoming a head coach who's won a national championship now. There's a different kind of respect you have. But the flip side of it is you've got to keep changing things. And it's kind of like a luck in a way that Jim Knowles left to go to Penn State, and you had to go out and get a new defensive coordinator. So maybe Jim Knowles has taken some knowledge with him about this team, but the defense is going to be different. In a lot of small ways, it's going to make a huge difference. And so that's what you want when you go from a national championship year to going for another one, is you got to be different. As the old Jim Tressel line, if it ain't broke, break it. But you're really kind of luck out when, in fact, you have a brand new coordinators coming in with new ideas about little things, because that's what really makes the difference.
Last thing, and I want to go out on this, and I loved it from Ryan Day, and he is embracing. He has said all along, we're not defending anything. We already won the national title. They can't take it away. But, to come out on the first day and say, hey, we want to be the first team ever to win back-to-back national championships at Ohio State, I mean, that's putting it out there. He is not, and I loved it. But, I mean, I don't know, and I know what you're going to say. What do you want him to say? I mean, obviously that's what, but I don't know of any other coach that I've ever heard. I never heard Urban Meyer say, I never heard Jim Tressel say, hey, we're back this year to win another title. He put it out there.
Well, he put it out there like a week after. He said that, he wants to be up there as one of the – if he wins another national title, Ryan Day would go down as arguably the greatest coach in Ohio State history. He's up there with Woody. He's up there. I mean, it's –
none of them won back-to-back.
None of them won back-to-back.
That's hard to
don't
do.
touch that other elephant in the room either.
What's that one?
Well, I'm talking about the record.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's –
That's a different
but that
story.
elephant has
It's
shrunk a little bit since
But
he took
also,
over.
Exactly.
I would be kind of concerned if the head coach wasn't wanting to win a national title every year, right? Like, yeah, say that. You want to go back to
No, I know, but I mean, he's out there doing it.
Yeah, I think that's what. Listen, Ryan is very smart with every soundbite he gives. He thinks through everything that he says at that podium. He knows. He likes to give, what is it, a fodder on a fire? Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
Fodder?
Well, he threw a little
Did I
gas
make up
on the
that
fire,
word?
didn't
Yes.
he?
Yeah.
He threw a little gas.
A little
on
gas
it.
out there.
I'm confident that's a word.
But Adam's right. He's been talking about this almost
He said,
He
it
said
was
a Big
after,
Ten Media
yeah.
Day.
exactly. It's no surprise. And number two, with this, like he keeps making this point. I don't know if people are paying attention or not. They lost 14 people to the draft, right? And a couple other guys. Bottom line is, like he said, they're inexperienced. You look around the room, they're inexperienced. He's talking about the young guys sitting in the back of the room. You know, those guys have got to step forward, euphemistically speaking, and become players now because it is a youngish team. But he has said many, many, many times this is a talented team. And you got to pay attention to that aspect of it. That's why I think it's a shame they're playing Texas on August 30th instead of October 30th, because it's going to be such a different team by mid-season than it is going into the opener. You can make the same argument with Texas, but he understands he's got talent here. He's got a talented coaching staff. Make the most of it. But it's really funny, Dom. This kind of reminds me, 1995. Remember that talent-laden team? Eddie George wins the Heisman Trophy. They come so close and then lose to the team up north. We all know what happened there to Michigan. But the bottom line is, 96 was probably as good as, if not a better team, kind of like the shift from the talent that went off of that 95 team, and then in 96, the battle for starting quarterback. They played 2 quarterbacks that year, and they got it all done. They had a rookie, a freshman at middle linebacker named Andy Katzenmoyer. Guys stepped up.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and they were within a play of probably winning a national championship. The good thing now is,
You could lose that game.
yeah, you can lose that. You can lose 2 games to get in the national championship hunt. The point is, he knows that he's got talent, and there's nothing wrong with now. Basically, he's not just talking to us; he's talking to the players. Hey, you know, you did it last year. You can do it again this year. We've got the talent in this room. If we keep doing the little things, keep getting better every day. I mean, I know it's coach speak, but he's exactly right.
The one thing is we're running out of rooms for banners here.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
just redid all the banners. They left one more space for one more national championship. They do. I really like them.
Yeah, they look great.
They look great.
All right. Great stuff, guys. Tim May, 97.1 The Fan, Adam King, Nicole Sharon. Keep it on 10 TV, 10 TV Plus, and 97.1 The Fan for all your Buckeye coverage needs.